Hello and welcome back to AP World History Modern. Today we're going to look at Unit 8.5, Decolonization after 1900. And it's going to be a pretty brief video, largely because in class we're going to, over the course of these 2 days, we will do a DBQ essay, and we'll also kind of do a deep dive on one of these illustrative or illustrative examples. So you notice there's a lot of examples here. That the College Board is kind of thrown out there that you can look at. So what we're gonna do is, instead of in class just doing like a brief survey on all of these things, we're just going to do a deep dive. So there's going to be a project that's assigned. It's already been posted into Google Classroom for you. It is the country decolonization 1-pager assignment, and it'll be and your due dates are there. Okay, so please go to your Google Classroom and go through your instructions for the 1-pager. And there's also a list of, there's some samples, what the past 1-pagers have looked like, and here's a list of options on what you need to choose from, and on certain options, I put some kind of focusing or targeting for you. Just kind of make sure you're on track for what you're supposed to be doing. All right. So there's going to be a decent amount of class time dedicated towards that. You have access to that assignment on Google Classroom. So, and really, it's these illustrative examples. You're just going to do a deep dive, and then we'll do a little jigsaw activity right before the unit test, so that you can see what your classmates have created. Okay. All right. So there's that. So that said, that's going to be most of one of these classes, and then there'll be a DBQ for the entire class. I've also shared this unit slide deck with you, so that you can go ahead and use this. So if you're doing your deep dive, I do break down a lot of these topics, to kind of guide you. So obviously your textbook's going to cover some of the stuff, and in your textbook will not cover some other things. So yeah, so I give you a bunch of different, kind of a little bit of a deep dive on a lot of these topics, just to kind of guide you along with whichever topic you decide you're going to choose for your 1-pager. Right. So here's the Kenya example. I've got a decent amount of slides on Ghana, all the way down here, some Biafran, right? Some Biafran for Nigeria. I've got a lot of Algeria slides, right? So, so there's some topics that are just easier, just because I give you so much information. Some Angola, and of course there's plenty of deep dive on India, right? Pakistan, right? So I guess much more India than Pakistan, right? So just feel free to dig through this PowerPoint to support whatever topic you choose. In class, I generally watch I do spend just a few moments on India, and I'll make this available on the website. So you can watch. It's just kind of looking at the borders, the borders that get created as a result of partition that happens in 1947. Some of the reasons why, from the British point of view, for why they partitioned, and of course the border is talking about that human cost. There's that Vice clip, right, about borders. And what else do I normally kind of show in class with this? Before I kind of get into the whole borders thing, I generally start with is a little video clip. Let me see if I can find that thing, and I guess I'll just make it available on my website. I'll just kind of post it on there, share it on there. It's a Google reunion commercial. So I got a link to it somewhere here, but I'll share a link to that. It just kind of looks at that partition. Okay, so and of course here's some of the statistics, right? 12, 15 million sometimes cited. Million people lose their ancestral homes. 500 million, 500,000 plus killed. Sometimes I've seen numbers much higher than that. And then of course Kashmir, right? So Kashmir, for that, the borders video is about Kashmir, right? So majority Muslim population, annexed because it is the headwater, right? The water source for much of the Indian subcontinent. So it's not a matter of when I show that video in class, kids will often ask, why don't they just allow them to vote and allow self-determination to determine it, and it's not quite that simple, right? When you start talking about water, right, and water rights, and of course it also digs into some of the nuclear issues as well, that we often kind of look at with South Asia. So yeah, so we kind of look at that. If time permitting, sometimes I'll jump ahead to the it's actually 8.6 on my website. It's the economic, right, government's guiding economic life, and sometimes I'll run through a little bit of Nehru, and really the economic policies of Indira Gandhi, right? So her nationalization, of the banks, of raw materials, of the insurance sector. It's kind of look at her economic policies. We talked about, just kind of very briefly talk about the Green Revolution, because that's going to be a unit, I think it's 9.1 off the top of my head. So we'll come back and talk about that again. We'll talk about some of other, some of the other Indira Gandhi. This is Nero's daughter, not Gandhi's daughter. But some of her other policies, so election law violations that she, was charged with, her sterilization campaigns, right? 8 million people are sterilized under her, and of course we kind of just talked a minute about her assassination, right? So Operation Blue Star and whatnot. So we do kind of mention that in class as well, while we're kind of talking about India, South Asia in general. All right, so but that's really all we're doing, or all we do today is is I kind of very briefly watch a couple of these little videos, which I'll put links for, and just kind of run through India real quick, and and Pakistan, and kind of just give you an idea of what's there, and then I allow you to kind of get started on your case study deep dive. Your one pager on decolonization, right, for whichever, either one country or two countries, because you do have an option to do one or two, in whichever country you decide to do. All right. So, and then other than that, if you're absent, you're missing the DBQ, and you'll be getting a makeup version of the DBQ when you return back to class. So that is all. All right. So here's your debrief and summary, right, which kind of overviews what you really need to understand about this, right, about these topics, right, and that is all for this video. So, Sapriati.